Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlis here, and I was thinking, wow, I actually agree with the Smogon decision. Almost. That it was so close. It was so close for me to be like, yeah, that was actually a good idea. And yet, it just didn't happen. So, for those of you guys that don't know, if you're playing the unofficial Smogon metagame, Landorus has recently been banned. And at first when I heard it, I heard the suspect test, I was like, Landorus is being suspected? Thank you, finally! I think that actually makes sense, because Landorus Therian has had it too good for two. They banned Landorus Incarnate. Wait, what? That's what I don't get. That Smogon was so close to making the right decision. That Landorus Therian is much more of an annoyance, much more of a toxic Pokemon to the metagame than just Landorus Incarnate. And I've been like going through and like looking at all the things, so here's the thing, Landorus should be banned and blah blah blah, and then this is the suspect test about strengths and weaknesses and people talking about it. So as you can see here, my research has been fairly plentiful. I've been going through and reading it. But overall, Landorus is not a Pokemon that really has given me problems, mostly because it runs Sheer Force and Life Orb, so any Pokemon over 101 base speed is going to just destroy it, and it's also really only a Pokemon that's very strong in a check situation, that you have to knock out an opponent's Pokemon, then they bring in the Landorus, and then you're put in a very awkward situation to where you might have to sack or something like that, but you already have the advantage by that point. And you also have a lot of Pokemon that can stop Landorus. It isn't one of those Pokemon that has no counters. It isn't one of those Pokemon that can be perfectly played around. So there's that. And then I was going and looking at some other things. So this is Pokemon Global Link, but I'm just kind of giving some comparison points for Landorus Therian, which is the one that should be banned, or at least the one that should be under suspect. So look at this. Landorus Therian, out of all of Pokemon Online in single battles for Battle Spot, fifth most used Pokemon. Out of all of the Pokemon matches, so including doubles, second most used Pokemon. This Pokemon has some pull. Also, if we go and look at usage stats on Sweeper Calc, 19% usage, so number one most used Pokemon in October. Pretty much Landorus Therian has been the most used Pokemon for like a year. And people are like, no, there's no problem with this Pokemon apparently. That, you know, it runs Scarf, it can run Tank, it can run a lot of really weird things, so it's a lot more unpredictable Pokemon. And then if we go back to October, Landorus is all the way, let's see, he's down here somewhere at 4.6% usage. Now, I know that this is kind of irrelevant because of before ORS, but I'm just kind of giving some points to compare with. So, I mean, even then, like 4%. Now, if we go and change that to 1760, Landorus jumps up to 1 in 3, 35% usage. That's kind of absurd. And then where's regular Landorus? He's all the way down at still 8.7%. So, I mean, even in, like, higher ladder with higher skilled players, that's what the 1760 rating is for, Landorus actually goes up. It skyrockets in usage, and it's pretty much the same trend, that if we go to last month's combined usage for OU, Landorus Therian, 23%. Landorus, regular Landorus, if he's somewhere around here, I saw it, okay, 10%. So, I mean, if you could imagine, you know, OU, higher ladder, probably scales up. Landorus Therian still the most used. And then Landorus Incarnate only... I feel like Landorus Incarnate has only gone up because of this... Now, I'm going to get back to what I've been saying for well over a year now. Smogon's just either ban-happy mentality and their, what is it, bandwagon mentality. That someone's like, this is strong, and then it just kind of follows down, and there's a mob mentality effect of, this is strong, I'm going to spam it, this is strong, I'm going to spam it, without either looking for counters, without just ignoring that it's not that strong of a Pokemon, because all of a sudden everything just becomes a flavor of the month. Greninja, suddenly a flavor of the month, let's ban it. Lucario, suddenly flavor of the month. And then like all these other Pokemon, they've been wanting to be banned because it's a flavor of the month. I think Swag Play, and, or at least Swagger getting banned, and Baton Pass getting banned, these are the biggest things for it. Swagger has existed for a long time. Prankster Swagger was back in 5th generation. Baton Pass, back in 5th generation. But then we just get into this comfort play where people are like, everyone's spamming this now, we might as well just ban it, instead of encouraging people to just change their mentality, play around it, not play it, you know, just try to not produce some toxicity by just spamming things that people are upset with. But instead, it's just easier to ban it to Smogon. And then we see some other things like this, where they're just ignoring threats. That if I could choose, if I was forced to have to say one Pokemon would be banned, and let's say Battle Spot rules ban a Pokemon, I would say Landorus Therian, because okay, I've already made my statements. So, you know, I don't care about Mega Maul, I don't care about Mega Kingscon. Mega Pokemon, they're supposed to be stronger, so I don't think they should have bans. Greninja, Greninja just isn't strong enough to be banned, honestly. And then we look at Landorus Therian. This Pokemon is probably just one of the most frustratingly reliable Pokemon to play with. And I think that that's why it has so much usage. It's a super easy Pokemon to play. That it takes no skill to play Landorus. You bring it in and you outspeed with Scarf, or you bring it in as a tank and you set up Stealth Rocks, and then you just blow up Pokemon. Well, actually, it doesn't really blow up Pokemon. It's more just a frustrating, safe Pokemon. They can bring it in on almost anything, and then you can just kind of play around your opponent and just be frustrating with it. So that's why I feel like Landorus Therian, but at the same time, it can bring Scarf, it can bring Speed Threat, it can bring some KO threat. I don't even think it relies on KO as much as Disruption. And then there's Landorus Incarnate. And I mean, this thing doesn't really do too many scary things that I've seen. So. Okay, so I brought up a moveset thing on Landorus. So I mean, yeah, we have Landorus Incarnate right here. Rock Polish, All Out Attacker, Calm Mind. Pretty much we're going to be seeing the same things. Focus Miss, which has a 30% chance of missing. So I mean, even that's not super reliable. Psychic, Earth Power, Hidden Power, Ice. Sometimes you see Knockoff or Sludge Wave. It's pretty limited on the coverage, that there are a couple of Pokemon that resist it really well. So, I mean, this Pokemon has counters. Right here, it even admits checks and counters. Specifically, bulky Pokemon, Cresselia, Mega Latios, Gyarados completely counter Landorus. A Pokemon that can sponge up its hits and cripple it. Boom, just completely done. And that's really Landorus right there. Also, it has a ton of checks. You know, Mega Sableye can Calm Mind, knock off it. And then the problem is, here's how the situation goes. You sack off a Pokemon, you bring in Mega Sableye, and now you're setting up Calm Minds. They either switch out, and now your Mega Sableye is the thing that's checking it and making you get a super setup going, and then they lose advantage. Like, pretty much like I said earlier, Landorus Incarnate's really going to be a response Pokemon. That's going to check, but it can be checked. It's going to be a revenge Pokemon, which means that balanced offensive teams do well against it, and again, your opponent's already -1. Why is bringing in a Pokemon that needs to get a KO a bad thing? And if you have like really fast Pokemon on your team, Landorus is just in trouble. So I really don't get it. It's not like Greninja that has no counters. It has a set moveset. It can't really run too many variations of it. It gets through really. It doesn't have it. And I feel like the problem is Landorus Therian. Everyone makes the joke like, haha, Smogon Bird, Talonflame. No, Landorus Therian is the Smogon Pokemon. Anything that like threatens it, you know, we look at Greninja. Greninja was really crowding out Landorus Therian, Landorus Incarnate. So technically, you know, in this situation, it's showing that Greninja is not really centralizing. The problem is people centralize themselves. But they stick to one Pokemon, they bump up its usage, they like inflate its usage because it's a flavor of the month, and then they ban instead of innovate. And that just shows right here that they're taking the Pokemon that isn't even a threat just to keep their prized Pokemon that, you know, they're never going to say X Pokemon is busted when they really like it. Like, Landorus Therian just embodies what Smogon is. Entry hazard, bulk, switch, play around Pokemon that takes no skill to use. Like, that's just so basic right there, and I don't get how Pokemon that get less usage than it are called centralizing. Like, if you want centralizing, 35%, that's centralizing. It's just crazy. I don't get it. So, that's my thoughts on the Landorus Incarnate Ban. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, even though I know a lot of you won't, and I hope you all have a nice day.